The unification movement founded by Reverend Sun Myung Moon had been deeply divided, starting in 2009, and continuing through the period of the late Reverend Moon's passing and his memorial ceremony in 2012. That division continues to this day. When examining the causes and background of this division, the most common misconception is that Reverend Moon's wife, Mrs. Hak Ja-han, and the leadership of the Unification Church, collectively called clerics, were united with Reverend Moon and acted under his direction. However, a recently obtained video that was previously withheld by the clerics shows that Mrs. Han and the church leadership took a path that was completely contrary to Reverend Moon's intentions and will. Let's first look at a previously released video from the Women's Federation for World Peace event, convened on July 16, 2012. This was several months before Reverend Sun Myung Moon's passing. During his speech, Reverend Moon suddenly made a shocking statement that Mrs. Hak Ja-han, his wife, was doing whatever she wants against his wishes.
어머님을 내가 길러왔어요. 어머니 없습니다. 문 총재 아내 자리도 없어요. 제멋대로야, 제멋대로.
Not only was the content of this off-script remark shocking, but it was quite surprising that it was conveyed at a rally attended by 10,000 people, including VIP guests. Why did Reverend Moon make such a statement at a large public event, rather than at a private gathering of leaders? Recently obtained videos, that had been hidden until now, reveal that Mrs. Han and the clerics violated Reverend Moon's teachings on the principled order of God's true family ideal, especially in terms of the relationship between man and woman.
주인이 누구고 외가 누구고 여자가 왜 됐어? 까불어서 이게 어머니가 큰 벌을 타버렸어. 어머니가 할아버지하고 손자를 타버렸어. 진이 형진이가 쟁배가 아니야. 그들도 나 몰래 하게 되면 걸려요.
Mrs. Han proclaims herself to be the only begotten daughter, and deifies herself. Meanwhile, Cheon calls himself the second king, and has created the highly controversial Rod of Iron Ministries. These two new religions they have created have nothing to do with Reverend Moon's original intentions and providential work. It becomes clear that they were doing whatever they wanted. The unification movement that Reverend Sun Myung Moon originally envisioned and launched was based on universal truths and a true family ideal that transcends race, nationality, and religion. It was a providential movement aimed to realize a new civilization of one family under God. The unification movement is a charismatic providential movement led by a messianic figure, who is a human being, representing the ideal of Adam, the first human being. The messianic figure has the mission to create an ideal family and restore the failures of the first Adam. The Messiah, who comes as the perfected Adam, must first find his true bride, who can be loved by God from an absolute standard, and then move on to the position of a true couple. However, the mission of the Messiah does not end there. He must establish an absolute true family, advancing to the position of true parents. Then, he can build the heavenly kingdom on earth, as well as in heaven, centering on that true family. Beginning in 160 countries, Reverend Sun Myung Moon launched the Blessing Movement to fulfill his providential mission for establishing the ideal of true family. The blessing is not a ceremony of a particular religion. For Reverend Moon, the blessing opens the way for all humankind to participate in building a civilization of true love, peace, and flourishing for all. Since the family is the basic building block for societies, nations, and the world, the true family ideal serves as the blueprint for co-creating with God the civilization that fulfills his original purpose. For this reason, the unification movement has engaged in extensive activities in various fields beyond the scope of religious institutions. Reverend Moon's work was never about establishing a single church or a new religion. We no longer need religious institutions. That is why I have declared the end of the era of the Holy Spirit Association for the Unification of World Christianity, and launched the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification. There is no need for religion. The original family, in the Garden of Eden, was not fallen. From the divine principle perspective, the most important providential foundation for fulfilling the messianic mission is the establishment of the true family by an Adamic figure. Humanity can return to God as his children by engrafting to the true family, where the essential lineage of God is established, thereby opening the path for all to reclaim their position as sons and daughters of God. In this context, the divine principle explains that God's will is fulfilled through direct descendants who inherit the heavenly lineage, and it states that Reverend Moon's authority and mission are inherited through his direct son. The inauguration ceremony of Dr. Hyunjin Moon, as the International Vice President of FFWPU in 1998, has significant importance, not only for the unification movement, but also for the entire providence of God.
오늘 이와 같은 모임을 갖게 된 것은 통일교회 역사에 있어서 혹은 선생님 일생에 있어서 도움되는 기름이 나라고 생각합니다. 뿐만 아니라 하나님의 소원이 있었다면 이런 날이 있기를 얼마나 고대했던 것을 생각할 때 내 마음으로 깊은 감사를 하나님 앞에 드립니다. 아담 가정에서 하나님이 일대라면 아담은 이되고 아담 아들들은 3대인데 3대를 못 본 것이 타락이고 3대 역사를 다시 일으키기 위한 것이 구원 섭리와 복귀 섭리의 완성을 생각할 때에 이 3대를 중심 삼고 하나님의 공적인 책임을 임명한다는 것은 천주사적인 이변이다 생각합니다.
Reverend son Myung Moon mentioned that God is the first generation in Adam's family, and called the inauguration of Dr. Moon a cosmic event, as it marked the first time the third generation, centered on God, had been established. Through the inauguration ceremony of Vice President Hyunjin Moon, Reverend Moon confirmed that succession was to take place by his lineage.
희망의 한날로서 이들을 현진 앞에 맡게 해주는 것이다. 추가한다. 아멘.
Reverend Sun Myung Moon recognized the central importance of the four Adamic figures in human history. He urged Mrs. Han, his wife, and his children, as well as all leaders and members of the unification movement, to unite with and follow the fourth Adam, Dr. Hyunjin Preston Moon. On earth, now you have to unite centering on Hyunjin. After establishing the way of father-son relationship as recognizing elder sonship, mother also should follow the blessed elder son. Dr. Hyunjin Moon focused on reforming the unification movement, to correct its misguided leadership culture, and expanding the foundations for an interreligious and international movement, for building a new civilization. During his 2007 U.S. tour meeting significant religious leaders, Dr. Moon envisioned the dream of God, as encapsulated by the simple, yet profound phrase, of one family, under God. Since that time, it has been promoted as the providential goal of the unification movement by Reverend Moon and Dr. Moon together. The era of hope of the fourth Adam opened widely, and the unification movement entered a period of remarkable development. In 2008, Dr. Hyunjin Moon led impressive initiatives in 24 nations, demonstrating that people from Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu and even atheist backgrounds could come together under the vision of one family, under God. Inspired by these unprecedented achievements in the unification movement, Reverend Sun Myung Moon had hoped that the breakthroughs needed to fulfill his final goal of Foundation Day by 2013 would be achieved by his son, thereby bringing the settlement of the ideal of true parents and true family, and establishing God's sovereignty on earth. No church leader believed that it was possible, but Dr. Moon made it possible on his own. However, the clerics rejected Reverend Moon's mandate for the end of church era, and actively opposed Dr. Hyunjin Preston Moon's central leadership for the new providential age. The egregious actions of these leaders clearly indicate their attachment to the power, position, and the many benefits they enjoyed within the institutionalized church system. The clerics attempted to undermine Dr. Hyunjin Moon by even involving Mrs. Han and Dr. Moon's siblings. Over the past 14 years, the clerics have initiated over 30 lawsuits, as well as numerous campaigns to character assassinate Dr. Moon. They justified their actions by claiming that they were instructed by Reverend Sun Myung Moon. Not only did they themselves undertake such criminal actions, but they also manipulated members in the unification movement to support their purposes by twisting spiritual guidance about absolute obedience. From a providential perspective, the actions of these leaders are the most foul and heinous. They went so far as to formally exclude Dr. Moon and his family from all Korean traditions at the time of Reverend Moon's passing, omitting their names from the list of bereaved family members. They even physically prevented Dr. Moon from attending his own father's funeral. Their every attempt to crucify Dr. Moon throughout the years has left an ugly stain on both the reputation and the lifetime achievements of Reverend Sun Myung Moon, who had lived a dignified and noble life for the sake of God's will. On July 19, 2012, 3 days after the previously mentioned Women's Federation event, at which Reverend Moon made shocking remarks about his wife, leaders who participated at that event were gathered by Reverend Moon for a morning meeting in Chungpyeong, Korea. On that occasion, Reverend Moon chastised the clerics for destroying the true family and judged them as traitors. He explained the providential importance of building an interreligious and international movement in support of the able UN mission. Reverend Moon lamented that the clerics used other true family members to trample on his son, Dr. Hyunjin Preston Moon, who was leading that crucial providential initiative.
사탄세계 너희들 발밑에 들어가가지고 자기 아들도 축복받았더니 축복이 천국 못 들어갈 그 아들딸 좀 살고 선생님의 아들딸을 밟아치고 있다는 사실을 알겠죠. 만국지정들이야. 응? 그걸 추려가지고 아벨 중심사가 만들기 위해서는 선생님의 아들도 선수의 가정이 완전히 짓밟히고.
Despite the fact that Reverend Moon proclaimed the end of the church era, these entrenched leaders insisted on maintaining a church institution as a means for their own livelihood. Reverend Moon also rebuked them for stealing from the movement and warned them that they will not go to heaven.
너희들은 무슨 굶어 죽기 전에 교회가 없어서는 안 된다고. 교회 있으면 교회가 도둑질에다가 자기 아들 딸 먹이기에 수고했던 사람들이 천국들은 하나도 없습니다. 선생님이 있으니 자기 아들 딸 희생시키면서 가인이 죄 가운데 축복받은 것이 이게 천국 들라도 못 가.
Reverend Moon's condemnation of these leaders, and the damage they have done to the movement that he created, should be taken very seriously, especially given the creation of a totally new and separate religion, deifying the only begotten daughter, which has nothing to do with Reverend Moon's original purpose. Why did the unification movement, which was reaching its peak in 2009, suddenly fall into great confusion, and since, become a target of social ridicule? There is a video recording that provides important clues to answering that question. If Dr. Moon's efforts to reform the leadership culture of these misguided church leaders succeeded, the unification movement today would not be condemned by society as it is, and much of the blessed family's tragedy and suffering from the burden of excessive donations would have been stopped earlier. Mrs. Hak Jahan betrayed Reverend Moon's hope that she would unite with him, and she was the first to reject the only successor that Reverend Moon officially recognized. The leaders who deified Reverend Moon and her also tempted and influenced her. She has eventually proclaimed herself to be the only begotten daughter, thereby committing a sin greater than Eve did at the fall in Adam's family.
너희들한테 1000만 대 빚을 산채로 마땅히 무고고 죽여도 자기 아들딸에 부를 수 없는 비참한 그 아들딸 중성가지고 부모님도 고생한 부모님 아들딸까지 묶어가지고 밟아 치웠던 마음대로 세상에 너들 같은 데가 없었어. 누세울보다 더 무서운.
Lucifer is Satan who destroyed Adam's family by tempting Eve. Here, Reverend Moon compares the leaders, who tempted Mrs. Han to betray God, Reverend Moon, and Dr. Moon, to Lucifer, by saying they committed a sin even greater than Lucifer. Since the unification movement has a providential messianic mission, its members have long recognized the central role and importance of true family beyond any one organizational vehicle. However, these unscrupulous leaders tried to destroy true family and replace it with the church institution, especially attempting to destroy the authority of Reverend Moon's successor and Adamic figure, Dr. Hyunjin Preston Moon. Mrs. Han and the clerics in the video are well aware of the content of Reverend Moon's rebuke. They were present in almost all the meetings with Reverend Moon throughout the entire time the division in the movement was unfolding. They have heard such words from Reverend Moon directly. However, to this day, they pretend that Reverend Moon trusted them, and they were merely following his instructions. Despite what Reverend Moon has said on countless occasions, the leaders have turned around and lied to the members, to the courts, and to society at large. They have conveniently used the youngest son, and pushed a false narrative, that Cheon Moon was appointed the heir. They promoted the ridiculous claim, that Reverend Moon approved the lawsuits and attacks, against his own son, Dr. Hyunjin Preston Moon. Never before, had a lawsuit been filed against the leader in the movement, let alone a member of Reverend Moon's family. This was because the movement understood, the centrality of the true family. And yet, never in the history of the movement, was a member of true family attacked and smeared, the way Dr. Hyunjin Moon was. These leaders claim before members, that they are absolutely united with Reverend Moon. Yet, they have resisted releasing many videos of Reverend Moon's guidance, for fear that their lies would be exposed. These newly obtained videos clearly demonstrate, that their claims of being united with Reverend Moon, are completely false. Despite attacks and slander from church leadership, Dr. Hyunjin Moon has remained steadfast in his role as the inheritor of the Adamic mission, obedient to God's will. He is upholding the legacy of Reverend son Myung Moon. Dr. Moon earnestly prays for those leaders and members who created a church that has nothing to do with Reverend Moon's intended providential movement. He prays that they may return to their original position and reconnect to God's providence.